What? What's going on? Good afternoon. This is Jim McKay. I don't know what you're doing on this Easter Saturday afternoon, but in Greenville, South Carolina, a capacity crowd of about 15,000 people is about to watch the Grand National 100-mile NASCAR stock car race. The pictures you're watching are live. What you see is happening right now, and so it will be from the green flag that starts the race to the checkered flag that marks the finish. Greenville Pickens Speedway, as it's called, is a half-mile track paved with asphalt just a year ago. It's the kind of place where stock car racing started back in the days when the moonshiners first brought their high-powered cars to race against each other. Well, the sport has changed tremendously, and here are the cars in the first two rows. Winning the pole position was car number 17, driven by David Pearson, a three-time NASCAR champion. And right alongside of him in the red number 71 will be Bobby Isaac, who is the current NASCAR champion from the season of 1970. In the second row, car number 72, appropriately yellow, is driven by a former cab driver from Detroit, Benny Parsons, and here comes the green flag. Alongside him was Richard Petty in number 43. The biggest name in stock car racing, Petty. David Pearson trying to hold on to the lead. Isaac right alongside him, but it's David Pearson taking the lead as they go into the backstretch for the first time. It will be 200 laps of this half-mile track, 100 miles. Isaac right on the rear bumper of David Pearson. In third place is Benny Parsons. Richard Petty having trouble holding on to his fourth place that he had on the start. Right alongside him is Bobby Allison, car number 12. With me in the booth is Chrissy Katamaki. And Chris, Richard Petty's had a little trouble, dropped back to sixth place.
He's forced into the outside groove, Jim, and this is sort of a one-groove racetrack, at least until some rubber gets laid down. Now he's dropped back to fifth place, being pressured by the Neil Castles, and Bill Dennis was up there, too, the Rookie of the Year in NASCAR last season.
Okay, meanwhile, back up on front, it is David Pearson, still in first place. Bobby Isaac second. Benny Parsons in number 72 is third, and Bobby Allison in number 12 is fourth. In fifth place is number 90. That's Bill Dennis, who was named the Rookie of the Year last season in NASCAR. And then comes Richard Petty. So, it looks like an interesting afternoon. We'll be hearing periodic reports from the pits from Ken Squire, who is our man down there this afternoon. I'd like to welcome him to our Wide World of Sports motor racing reporting team. There's Benny Parsons, number 72. Remember, he's in third place, being pushed by Bobby Allison. Then comes Neil Castles. But up in front, it's still David Pearson with Bobby Isaac pushing him very closely. Isaac set up there for a moment as if he might try to make a pass.
Pearson has gone to a 1968 engine in this 1974, Jim. It's the 427 tunnel port engine, the economy model. It's the same kind of an engine people on ABC Wide World or ABC Sunday saw win the Atlanta 500.
It's a car in the pits. It's Ray Williams, car number 47, not figured to be one of the top contenders. But there are the leaders. David Pearson, immediately followed by Bobby Isaac. Remember, a three-time NASCAR champion, followed by the defending NASCAR champion. So it could be quite an afternoon.
They're going to be moving into traffic soon.
Reminder that today's Grand National Stock Car Race on ABC's Wide World of Sports is being brought to you by Mercury, where better ideas make better cars. It's as simple as that. Mercury makes better cars at the sign of the cat. By Roytan Falcon, cigars with the rich, mild taste. And by Sears Tire and Auto Centers, where you'll find die-hard batteries and a complete line of quality tires. Now we have a car stalled in turn 2. Car number 46, Roy Main, and so the yellow flag has come out for the first time today. No accident, he's just spun out and has stopped. It's kind of a problem for a fellow to get out of his car, huh?
There's not much room. This is a rather narrow, a fine half-mile racetrack here in Greenville, South Carolina, that for many years was an excellent clay track. And last year they coated the surface with asphalt, eliminating whatever dust problems there may have been and upping the speed. Pearson's qualifying time of 21.803 seconds on the track, Jim, constituted a new one-lap record today of 82.4 miles an hour.
Okay, under the yellow flag, the one car has come into the pits. However, we'll be back here in a minute in plenty of time to resume the action.
Hey, lady, would you mind getting that pumpkin out of my parking space?
Just hold on, buddy. I got mouse troubles. Like a dummy, I listen to my fairy godmother, and I wind up in the middle of the street riding a vegetable.
You go to single dances, that's what happens.
Yeah, I even lost my glass sneaker.
All right, everybody out. Let's move. Ugh. Watch it, fella.
Thanks.
You're Cinderella, aren't you?
Yeah?
I thought so. You know, a smart girl like you should get a job as a Hertz girl.
The only job I ever had was cleaning for my rotten stepsisters.
I know. I read the story. You could do it, though. You'd look great in a Hertz outfit. Besides, we train you to rent Fords and Mercuries, help people out. You might even get to meet a king.
A king? That's hard to believe.
Would you believe a prince?
I don't think so.
How about a salesman from Pittsburgh?
If you've ever been treated like a prince at a Hertz counter, now you know why.
We're back again, reporting to you live from Greenville Pickens Speedway in Greenville, South Carolina. This is Jim McKay with Chrissy Katamaki and Ken Squire, and they're getting his car restarted finally. It's Roy Main who caused the yellow flag here. The yellow flag is still out. We're in the early laps of what is a scheduled 100-mile or 200-lap race. The tow truck out there apparently is not going to have any business now that Main has gotten his car restarted. Wendell Scott, car number 34, came into the pits, has obviously an engine problem. The hood is up, so could be one car's out of it already. And another one, number 32, Marv Acton, also in. There is Wendell Scott, who is the only Negro driver, or has been for many years, on the NASCAR circuit.
Tough break for Wendell going out so early, Jim. 26 cars on the track, or started the race. And the track for half-mile ovals is a little difficult to drive because the straightaways are rather long and the turns quite sharp. Many half-mile tracks have shorter straightaways and wide sweeping turns. Marv Acton, the Porterville, California driver in a Dodge carrying number 32, is out of the competition.
Okay, looks like they're going to give them at least one more lap. One more before they get going again. Still in the early going, 13 laps going by. Coming into the pits now is Bill Dennis, Rookie of the Year last season.
You sort of wonder why fellows have to make pit stops for the race not even 10 laps old. He's coming back out, but he is going to have to go past many, many cars to get back up to the position he enjoyed a moment ago. And what he did there was just have a consultation with his mechanics. It'd be interesting to know what the dialogue was.
Bill Dennis of Richmond, Virginia, who apparently is going to be one of the coming names in the sport of stock car racing. Wendell Scott backing his car. Wendell Scott's going to get back in the race, too, it looks like. And now the pace car is off the track. We're getting the green flag. It's racing again at Greenville. David Pearson is the leader. They're going to be passing Wendell Scott as he comes out of the pits. But there is number 17, David Pearson, in first place. Bobby Isaac is still second. Benny Parsons is third in car number 72. Bobby Allison is fourth, and Richard Petty has moved into fifth place now. Very tight on these turns, Chris.
Extremely tight, and it means that the tires are going to get a workout today, too. But Isaac is not about to let Pearson pull away. He's hanging right there. Pearson cannot afford to make a single mistake.
Pearson setting up a little bit, trying to get on the inside. The inside, according to most of the drivers, is the place you want to pass here. But as you can see, it's very, very difficult to get by anybody. There's only one groove basically going through those turns. So you got to try to get him on the straightaway, and the straightaway is only about a good par 3 hole. So it's tough.
The problem, Jim, is once one gets to the turn, they can't race outside their rival. They must line up behind him or else push him out of the groove. That's what Isaac is trying to do now. Nuzzle underneath Pearson and get him out of position going in, perhaps to turn one, and he might just do it this time.
We're going to pass a slower car again, driven by Ben Arnold.
Pearson's not giving him room, you see, and there's a little fender bending there.
And Ben Arnold in the way, going very slow, but both of them manage to maintain position as they go by. Pearson the leader, Bobby Isaac second. And remember that Benny Parsons in third place is about 20 feet behind, and the others are right on his heels. Bobby Allison and Richard Petty and Richard Brooks.
Well, they almost played Wrinkle-Fender at better than 80 miles an hour, Jim. About 95 on the straightaways and in the 70s through the corners.
That's a good point. The fact that the speeds here are tremendously slower than they would be on one of the great super speedways, as they're called. But on the other hand, remember, you and I can go a lot faster on a turnpike than we can on a winding country road, but the winding country road may still be tougher. And again, we're back on front. Pearson and Isaac.
We have a Ford and a Dodge holding the number 1 and number 2 positions, with a Ford in 3rd place and a Dodge 4th.
Okay, well, those 2 lead cars are beginning to move out just a little bit from 3rd place Benny Parsons and from Bobby Allison, who's 4th, and Richard Petty has dropped back a little bit again in 5th place. There is Richard Petty on the left of your screen.
Dick
just
Brooks.
Behind him, Richard Brooks.
Right behind him in a car that is almost identical, with the exception of the number to that driven by Bobby Allison. And now
Isaac up in front is going to make a move. There it is, right alongside. Great racing, right alongside David Pearson. Looks like he's got him this time. But Pearson's fighting back, right side by side, or as they say in the stock cars, dough handle to dough handle.
Well, it's a little football expression applies here, Jim. Bump and run.
Okay. Crowd really loving this as Bobby Isaac takes the lead. Now, Bobby has won the last 3 races that have been contested on this half-mile track at Greenville, including the first one on an asphalt surface that was contested last June. Remember, this track was just paved last year. Used to be a dirt track.
This, you might say, Jim, is Pearson's home track. He lives some 25 miles away in Spartanburg, and a lot of hometown fans are here hoping to see him take the checkered flag first.
But it's Bobby Isaac in the lead, and now David Pearson is second. The defending NASCAR champion, leading the 3-time NASCAR champion. Only 2 men have won the NASCAR title 3 times. That's David Pearson, who's in second place here in car number 17, and Lee Petty, the father of Richard Petty, who now is running back in about 5th place.
Yeah, Isaac has been picking and choosing his races, Jim, and as of last night, did not plan to compete here. He was told this morning to get down to Greenville and run. The car is kept up near Charlotte, and he was a post entry. He had to pay double entry fee. Rather than $50, he had to pay $100. And should he win, he will get no points counting toward the national championship because he is a post entry.
But he will get points counting towards his bank account. He gets the money if he wins.
That's right. The money will be his.
Okay, now back again to take a look at Richard Petty in 5th place, because we want to keep an eye on him as the afternoon goes by. As big a name in his sport as Joe Namath is in pro football or Arnold Palmer in golf. He's in 6th place at the moment. Richard Brooks has passed him. That's Dick Brooks in the red and gold car.
Dave Marcus in the number 2 car is giving Petty a run for the money. Marcus is a Wisconsin driver. He's from Wausau, and he's trying to make it big in the Southern Stock Car Circuit. And when you can go past Richard Petty, you've done that job partially at any rate. And there he goes. By him on the main straightaway.
Our number 2, Dave Marcis, and there is Richard Petty right alongside him. It looks like Dave's going to be able to take him. I wonder if Richard might be having some problems with the car. It doesn't look like a Richard Petty drive so far.
Well, I'm sure that when he makes his pit stop, and everyone will have to make at least one for gas, there'll be some adjustments made that will rectify whatever handling problem Richard is now having.
Remember, what you're watching is a race for 6th place. It's the closest race on the track right now. Obviously, we're keeping track of the leaders. If anything happens up there, we'll show it to you. But you see Richard Petty dropping back to 7th place. He started in 4th.
Number 49 car is driven by Ed Negre in place of its usual driver, G.C. Spencer.
Okay, and so it goes on with some 22 laps going by out of a scheduled 200, and we shall return after a message that you'll be seeing.
With you, it was love at first sight. The thing I like most about you is that I can take you any place. I'm so proud to be with you. We go together. People stare at us. I just love being seen with you. Even just having you around gives me a lot of pleasure. Your long, lean, willowy shape, you make me feel like a man should feel. Real. Your scent, your looks really do a lot for me. And you're not like some of them. I don't have to spend a lot of money on you. You're not extravagant. Royd's hand. There just aren't enough words to describe you. Rich, mild taste. What else can I say? Roy Tan Falcon, if you could only cook.
On this Easter Saturday afternoon, you're watching a live automobile race from Greenville, South Carolina, a NASCAR stock car race. 100 miles, that's 200 laps of this half-mile track. Jim McKay reporting here with Chrissy Kanamaki and Ken Squire, who is down in the pits for us today. There is the leader, Bobby Isaac of Catawba, North Carolina, the current NASCAR Grand National Champion. Ken Squire talked to him a little bit before the race about the differences between these little tracks and the super speedways. Let's take a listen to that.
Bobby Isaac, take 3. Bobby, is a short track race such as a Greenville Pickens 200 today more difficult on you than a super speedway race?
Well, it's more difficult because of the short period of time that you run. Like a driver kind of gears himself for a 500-mile race. He's give out at the end of 500 miles. If it's a 100-mile race, he sets himself for 100 miles. And at the end of a 100-mile race, he's just as give out as he is at the 500-mile race. I would say that as far as physical problem on the driver, it isn't any difference.
Okay, the words of Bobby Isaac just before this race started, and there he is in his race car as you continue to watch the live pictures from South Carolina. It is, by the way, just about a perfect spring day. There literally is not a cloud, not a sign of even a white puff in the sky. The temperature is in the mid-70s. Perfect for going to a race, perfect for racing.
A great number of the local racing gentry is here today, too, Jim. A fine crowd.
Isaac has now stretched his lead to about 2 seconds over David Pearson in second place. Remember that he was the second fastest qualifier. Pearson had the lead on the first few laps, then Isaac took him, and now is really beginning to stretch it out. He seems to like this race course. As we said, he's won the last 3 races that have been contested here, 2 on the dirt and 1 on asphalt. Now here we have 2 teammates battling it out. Back there, Bobby Allison in car number 12 and Richard Brooks in car number 22, battling for 4th place in the race, but very much in contention.
You might think you're seeing double. One carries a number 12, the other carries a number 22, and the numbers are gold metal on the red paint job, and each car has a gold top.
Here's a question for you as an expert, Chris. Is there anything they can do as teammates to help each other?
Well, not in this position. They're fighting for that particular spot. Not really. They just might be a little easier on one another under the present circumstances.
Were this a faster track, they might be able to draft a little on each other, something like that.
Right. Rather than trying to shake a draft, you might be able to assist your teammate in going for the draft. And Dave Marcus is in there trying to put a lap on them, and it's...
well, he's not putting a lap on him yet, but trying to move ahead of him. And Marcus, the Wisconsin chap, has now moved ahead of Bobby Allison and is going after the other member of the team, Richard Brooks. But there's the leader again, Bobby Isaac, the gentleman from Catawba.
You know, Petty's car not performing up to snuff is a surprise, because in the 10 NASCAR races that have been run to date, he has won 5 of them. He is batting .500 and is well in the lead for what will be another NASCAR championship. And his Thursday night, look at that. Thursday night, Petty won at Columbia, South Carolina, pushing his prize money over $100,000.
And there is Richard Petty. Running back in the pack now, remember. He's in 7th place. Meanwhile, Dave Marcus in car number 2 has moved into 4th position in the race. This sport has certainly changed. We mentioned at the beginning that it started with the moonshiners coming down with their fast cars. They used to flee the revenuers in and racing each other on these small tracks. And here today you have Richard Petty, who already this year has won more than $100,000 in stock car racing. And we were talking to some of the fellows in the pits this morning. Charlie Glotzback is leaving here right after the race in his own twin-engine airplane. Leroy Yarborough said he was golfing yesterday afternoon. Things are changing down here, Chris, in this sport.
Leroy, incidentally, was the second alternate for today's race. He did not qualify fast enough to make the field, which is remarkable.
Maybe he can go play golf then. Okay, the leader is still Bobby Isaac. And again, we'll return to Greenville, South Carolina in a minute.
I took a ride in 2 cars this morning, and first one was the Mercury, and the second was the Mercury.
This January, 100 people compared the ride of a medium-priced Mercury Marquis to a $26,000 European touring car.
I was blindfolded and had gloves on, so I couldn't tell what the cars were.
Another 100 compared Mercury to a $16,000 limousine.
The second car, the Mercury, definitely is the better of the two cars. I noticed the ride and the quietness especially.
The official results from the Nationwide Consumer Testing Institute shows the vast majority rated Mercury's ride superior.
It's a much better ride. It's a quieter ride, smoother, the Mercury. It glides. You go around corners, it's a nice, firm feeling.
I think it opens up everyone's eyes. I mean, it really does.
Sometimes a blindfold can open your eyes.
Better ideas make better cars.
At the sign of the cat.
We return to our live coverage of the 100-mile NASCAR stock car race in Greenville, South Carolina. The leader is Bobby Isaac in the red car, number 71. And he has at the moment what you would consider a comfortable lead of, 3 or 4 seconds over David Pearson in second place. Right now, however, a battle for seventh. That's Richard Petty in car number 43 being chased by James Hilton of Inman, South Carolina, who last year was a top contender for the NASCAR championship until his car was wrecked very late in the year.
Last year, Jim, Hilton was one of only 2 new winners on the entire NASCAR circuit of 46 races. Hilton won 1 race and Pete Hamilton won 3, and they were the only drivers to crack the establishment's victory scheme.
We keep referring to the NASCAR championship, and so far this year, by the way, Richard Petty, who's in that car number 43, is the leader. He's not only won $100,000, but he's the leader on points with James Hilton in second place. There is the leader lapping a slower car, Bobby Isaac, and he's moving up very close on the heels of Richard Petty and James Hilton. In fact, he'll be trying to put a lap on them pretty soon. So soon there could be only 6 cars on the same lap. We have 8 or 9 on the same lap right now.
Well, this is something one rarely sees, Jim. The leader is about to put a lap on James Hilton and then Richard Petty. When Richard Petty falls a lap down this early in the going, something's really wrong.
That's news in the world of stock car racing, all right. Well, there's James Hilton being lapped. We'll stand by for the lapping of Richard Petty. There's only been 1 yellow flag so far in this race. If you've just joined us, it was a brief one and did not concern any accident of any consequence, just a car that spun and stopped in the middle of the race course. Nobody was hurt. And there is Richard Petty being lapped by Bobby Isaac. There will be at least a pit stop in this race, so we'll be seeing pit action before the day is done.
It's interesting to note that even though it's a 100-mile race, the 22-gallon fuel capacity allowed these cars is not enough to get the job done. And the drivers told me before the race that they're going to have to stop sometime after 50 miles or up to 150. They just will stop between 50 and 150 miles to get their gas, and if a yellow flag should fly in that period, that's when the pits will get crowded.
The race has now passed the 1/4 mark. We've gone more than 50 laps. They report that Wendell Scott is out of the race for good now in car number 34. He had trouble earlier with his engine, you remember. Bobby Isaac seems to be having no trouble with anything. Isn't it funny how the old saying of horses for courses seems to be true in automobile racing, too? There seem to be certain guys who can race so well on certain tracks, Chris.
Well, that's true. Isaac, the champion, has had all sorts of trouble on the big super speedways, Jim, but he's a demon on the short tracks. He really knows how to get around.
There's the second place car of David Pearson. He was the fastest qualifier with a new track record. We're on lap 55 right now of a scheduled 200. We're talking laps, remember, not miles. You have to cut it in half for miles because it's a half-mile track. This Grand National Stock Car Race, incidentally, is sanctioned, of course, by the National Association for Stock Car Racing. NASCAR continues to bring auto racing fans a most exciting schedule of stock car races. Grand National events coming up in the next few weeks as we look at the first 2 cars on the top and bottom of your screen. Events coming up in the next few weeks include the Gwynn Staley 400 from North Wilkesboro, North Carolina on April 18th, the Virginia 500 from Martinsville, Virginia on April 25th, the Rebel 400 from Darlington, South Carolina on May 2nd, and the Alabama 500 from Talladega, Alabama on May 16th, and we will be bringing you the Alabama 500 live from Talladega. However, Talladega and the surrounding area will be blacked out.
Jim, the speed at 50 laps was 72.955 miles an hour. Remember, we had a long slowdown shortly after the race started, so they're really motoring along here. Remember now, better than 90-some miles an hour on the straightaways and about in the 70s through the corners.
Okay, no current changes in the standings, but into the pits now is coming Bobby Allison in car number 12, one of the leaders in the pits. Bobby, one of the racing brothers from Hueytown, Alabama, his brother Donnie, not here today. There it is, Bobby Allison in the pits. And that is not a scheduled pit stop. It's a problem, and you see the hood is up.
He has had so much trouble, Bobby, this year with engines. He's a great chassis man, gets the car working well, and then something happens under the hood. In the meantime, the competitors whiz by.
Bobby Allison with about a 4-second lead now on David Pearson, who still remains in second place.
Allison gave up 4th place to come into the pits, Jim, and he's been in now better than 30 seconds.
By the way, the demise of Wendell Scott's car was a bit premature. He's back in the race, but he's 12 laps behind. There is Richard Brooks, running in 5th place in the race, the teammate of Bobby Allison. Okay, and now we have the 2nd place car. David Pearson about to lap Richard Petty. Remember, he's already been lapped, has Richard, by the leader, Bobby Isaac. As Chris indicated, a most unaccustomed situation for Richard Petty, watching other race cars go by. James Hilton is also trying to pass Richard to move ahead of him into 7th position in the race, although they're both 1 lap down on the leaders. James Hilton in the yellow car, number 48. The drivers seem to like these races on the shorter tracks. There's a lot more action for them. Their interest is kept up. And Bobby Allison is being pushed, doesn't look like out of the race, but what do you think, Chris?
The car was overheating, Jim, and the way they're pushing it rather leisurely back there, I'm inclined to think he's had it for the day. Yep.
Okay, one of the leaders, Bobby Allison, being pushed way back into the pit, so it may be he is finished for this afternoon. Bobby Isaac remains the leader, and there he is in the red car, number 71. Last year's NASCAR champion. With a comfortable 4-second lead over David Pearson, who's in 2nd place. Stand by then for more live racing coming up.
The Baja 1000. 832 miles of rocks, ruts, and cactus. We matched a passenger car tire against the Baja. Sears steel-belted radials with flexible steel belts under the tread. They came in first in 3 classes and did it in record time. The same kind of tires that have gone over 70,000 miles on a car like yours. Sears steel-belted radial, the tire that beat the Baja. Only at Sears.
Indianapolis, 1970. How did it all start? It all started with Sears Die-Hard batteries. 25 out of the 33 cars at Indy were started by the Die-Hard, including the first 3 finishers. Get the Die-Hard. Sold only at Sears.
See Champion Auto Racers with Paul Newman April 18th in the special Once Upon a Wheel.
The picture is live, and the car is that of Richard Petty in the pits for a scheduled pit stop, the first of any of the lead cars to make their scheduled stop for today, in and out of the pits very quickly, and here you have to wait for a go-ahead to come out because it's kind of dangerous getting back on the racetrack. Richard was in a tight battle for 6th place. Now he's dropped back, but of course the others will have to make their pit stop too.
Jim, he was in the pits for 21.5 seconds, during which time he took on gas, took on right side tires, and they changed the chassis adjustment so the car will handle better, all in 21.5 seconds.
So apparently the chassis adjustment was the problem that he's having out there on the racetrack.
We should be able to tell now.
Okay, here's Bobby Isaac, who is still the leader in the race. In second place is David Pearson. Then Benny Parsons is third. Petty is now 3 laps down, but again, remember, the others will have to take their pit stops. Dave Marcus is fourth. Richard Brooks is fifth. One man who did not take the field today was one of the most famous stock car drivers, Leroy Yarborough, and Ken Squire is standing by with him in the pits right now. If you hear me, Ken, come on in.
Okay, Jim. Leroy Yarborough, who had some trouble today and didn't qualify, is going to be working with us down here in the pits. Richard Petty just seemed to be having suspension problems, like the Dickens to start the race, Leroy.
Well, Ken, actually, something happened to the motor. I'm not sure exactly what, but it started skipping. It acted like maybe I broke a valve or something, so we didn't make it.
Leroy, what about Richard's car, this pit stop that just took place?
Well, Richard motioned he was spinning the wheels like this, and Dale, his mechanic, put wedge in it, put some new tires on him, and sent him back out, so I think he'll probably start running a little bit better now.
Back to Jim McKay.
Okay, thanks very much, Ken Squire, with Leroy Yarborough, who did not make the field today, and you just heard why. Also, his opinion on what might be the trouble with Richard Petty, so it's going to be interesting to follow Richard. There's the leader, though, of course, the most important car in the race at the moment, that of Bobby Isaac. I-S-A-A-C, and down here, they pronounce it Isaac most of the time. Now, here we have a battle for 6th place in the race between James Hilton in car number 48 and Charlie Glotzback in car number 38. Charlie Glotzback, he of the twin-engine plane waiting at a nearby airport to whisk him home after the race.
To Georgetown, Indiana.
So there's the battle for 6th place. Now here we have the battle for 3rd place. There you see Benny Parsons in number 72, who's been 3rd since the start of the race, now being pushed by Dave Marcus, the Wisconsin fellow, who's really been moving up in this race. He started way back in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 6th row, started in 12th position, and now he's battling for 3rd.
We wonder if Benny Parsons can rely on some of the tricks he learned as a Detroit taxi cab driver to ward off the oncoming Marcus.
Well, we'll see. Now again, we're back to the battle for 6th. James Hilton.
And Charlie Glotzback
in the yellow
in the number 38.
Charlie Glotzback on the right. Glotzback is from Indiana, but his accent, by the way, is just about as southern as everybody else in the race. As you must know, the vast proportion of these fellas are from the southern states, but as you can see, there's a...
He told me before the race, Jim, that the bullet in his right shoulder doesn't bother him at all. He got into a little bit of an altercation back home last year and was shot by an irate employee. One bullet was removed, the other was left in.
Should always be nice to your employees. Sounds like. Okay, now there are the battles, you see, 48 and 38, Hilton and Glotzback, and behind them, the battle for 3rd, and those 2 cars battling for 3rd, Benny Parsons and Dave Marcus, also trying to put a lap on the 2 fellas battling for 6th. As you can see, there are battles and sub-battles and battles within battles in an automobile race.
In the meantime, Bobby Isaac patrols along, increasing his interval.
Boy, Bobby is really having an incident-free ride up to this point. And, of course, that helps the situation when you don't have to push that car too hard. A reminder that tomorrow at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, ABC Sports continues its exclusive coverage of the NBA professional basketball playoffs. You'll see the New York Knicks against the Baltimore Bullets from the Civic Center in Baltimore in game number 3 of this best-of-7 series. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, the Knicks, of course, leading by 2 games to none, but the Bullets on their home court will try to get back into it again. As for us, ourselves, we will return to you in a minute.
It's here. The natural hair control men have always wanted. New Command Dry and Natural.
Dry and natural, made for men.
Dry and natural. Never greasy, never perfumey, never messy. A clean, natural hold.
Dry and natural, made for men.
New Command Dry and Natural. Find it next to Command Hair Groomer and Command for Stubborn Hair.
To prove a point, I'm about to shave without using any water. Nothing to make my beard wet and soft, but this, Rise. I'm actually getting a clean shave. Must be the moisture in Rise. Rise seeps moisture into your beard and holds it there for as long as it takes you to shave. Now, if I can get a shave like this using Rise with no water, imagine what you can do using Rise with water.
The action is happening as you watch. It's live in Greenville, South Carolina. Bobby Isaac, the leader, a scheduled 200-lap race. 85 laps have now gone by. In second place is David Pearson, and in third place, but not by much, is Benny Parsons, trying to stay ahead of Dave Marcus. Richard Petty, whom we've been following from time to time, is way down in 11th place now, but he made a pit stop. Here's this battle for third. Number 72 is the former Detroit cab driver, Benny Parsons, and just behind him, the gentleman from Wisconsin, Dave Marcus. So here are two of the very few Northerners on the NASCAR circuit fighting with each other here.
Marcus's car is beginning to smoke when he backs off of the corners, Jim. You can see the smoke coming out of that car. We hope that this great competitor from Wisconsin isn't going to have engine troubles. He has a tough season with his engines. He's an independent and doesn't have much heavy financing, and there's no sponsor's name on this car.
Well, as we watch this battle for third place, why don't we bring in a brief conversation that Ken Squire had with Benny Parsons before the race began this afternoon. So you can watch the race there and listen up in the
Benny
corner.
Parsons, what about running a half-mile flat asphalt track like we have here at Greenville Pickens?
Well, it's demanding, Ken. It's demanding on the chassis, on the engine, the driver, everything else. You've got to be able to get in the corner and get out. That's the chassis part of it. Once you get on the straightaway, you have to have an engine to carry you down the straightaway. Very demanding racetrack. We think we're about right. There's no way of telling until the race starts.
Okay, the words of Benny Parsons, who's in that yellow car number 72, and now we have moved into the pits, and it is Charlie Glutz back in there now.
And
that's a little more than routine. They're not moving too fast down there.
This is more than a routine pit stop, Jim. He's in trouble.
Okay, so Glotzback had been battling for sixth place, and you can scratch him from contention right now. Remember all this while that Bobby Isaac is out there cruising around by himself, having a nice time. Well, Charlie may get an early ride home in his airplane. Charlie Glotzback from Indiana. There's the leader again, Bobby Isaac, car number 71. He now has just about a half-lap lead over the second-place car of David Pearson, number 17. Here's that battle for third, though. It really goes on, and this is real good racing. On this tight little half-mile track, you can't pass on those turns. You've got to get them on the straightaway. And that's Benny Parsons in 72 being chased by Dave Marcus. Smoke or no smoke, Marcus really hang in there. Look at this.
And, you know, Jim, Benny is giving Marcus the room he needs. He's a real sportsman there. He's not driving at all like a cab driver today.
Would you like to count the letters you're going to get from cab drivers, or should we hire a few people to do that?
Well, since they raised the drop on the meter in New York City, I'm a little upset about cab drivers.
No. At any rate, that's Benny Parsons in car number 72, appropriately yellow from his cab driving days. Now you see the leader coming up on the third place car. He's passed Marcus, has Bobby Isaac already. Now he's going to try to put a lap on Benny Parsons.
And now if Marcus will try to follow Isaac past Parsons, Parsons will be given the move-over flag by starter Johnny Bruner to make way for the leader. And if Marcus can play his cards right, he can use that to his advantage. Let's watch.
Marcus just out of the picture, but there he is, you see, the blue car. Can he follow the leader through there? Has Chris set it up for you or not? Well, there goes the leader. And there's Marcus. He's going to try to do just that. Right alongside Benny Parsons. Parsons, you say, giving him room, very sportsmanlike racing, and Marcus almost has it, but not quite.
They're racing.
Racing for third place, and Marcus has got him now. So, Dave Marcus, who started in 12th place, is now third. But remember, both he and the fourth place, Benny Parsons, are now one lap behind the leader, Bobby Isaac. So there are only two cars on the same lap, Isaac and David Pearson, who's about a half lap behind. One other reminder, however, these laps are not very long. They're only a half a mile.
And now, of course, the onus is going to lie with the pitmen, Jim, because every second is going to count when they stop for that necessary gas and perhaps right-side tires.
Pit stops are really going to be important here. There we would repeat that there has only been one yellow flag. It came early in the race and was because of a brief spin out by Roy Main. There were no injuries, but the yellow flag came out briefly until his car was restarted, actually. It was not taken out of the race. There's the second place car. We haven't seen David Pearson for a while, but there he was, and there's the leader a half lap ahead of him. In 4 more laps, we'll be halfway through the race. There is, we might say, no threat of rain, apparently for months, because there's not a cloud to be seen. A beautiful spring afternoon on this Easter Saturday in Greenville. Okay, you saw Charlie Glotzback having problems there a while ago getting out of his car, and Ken Squire spoke to him a little bit earlier. Let's go down to that.
At 95 laps, 5 drivers have come out of the race with heating problems. The 5th was Charlie Glotzback. Charlie, just what has it been like out there this afternoon?
Well, the car was running pretty well, considering everything, but water temperature went up on it pretty high, so rather than cook the engine, well, we just brought it in.
Charlie Glotzback in Georgetown, Indiana, out less than halfway of the race. Bill Dennis, Bill Seifert have also retired early in the going with heating problems. Back to Jim McKay.
Okay, thanks very much, Ken. And there's Bobby Isaac going past the start-finish line at the halfway mark. That's 100 laps for the leader. And we have halfway in the race to go. 100 miles, remember, which is 200 laps on this track. A report on Richard Petty. He's not making up much of the time he had lost. Despite resetting the car, he's still 3 laps behind Isaac. There's the second place car on the bottom of your screen. David Pearson a half lap behind Isaac.
Dave Marcus, Jim, is really moving in on Bobby Isaac now. He has found the groove and is cutting the interval sharply.
So Dave Marcus could be quite a story before this race is over. He could be challenging that man, the leader. That'll come a little bit later. Right now we're going to go away and then return.
When you fish for tuna, you watch. You wait, and you make ready. Then you spot them. Tuna! And you better get them while they're running, because you get no second chance. All the gusto in the world's out there, and now is the time to get it. You only get one crack at life, so you look for all the gusto you can. The life you live, the work you do, even in the beer you drink. When you're out of Schlitz, you're out of beer.
Again, we return to Greenville, South Carolina. NASCAR racing, coming your way live. Fine crowd on hand, about 15,000 people, biggest crowd they've had here in a while, and it's a perfect afternoon. Late afternoon racing. There's the second place car. David Pearson about to lap Richard Petty, who, as we've indicated a number of times, is having his problems today. He's 3 laps behind the leaders. And now we'll be 3 laps behind the second place car as Pearson goes on by. Or does he?
That adjustment that they made on Petty's car did not help too much, Jim. He hasn't able to show any superior speed since that visit to the pits.
Standings in the race for Bobby Isaac, a clear, easy leader over the second place car, David Pearson. And in third place, Dave Marcus of Wisconsin, who has moved up from 12th position in car number 2. He is not as yet challenging for second, but that could come along. The sun beginning to cast much more lengthy shadows as it begins to set. It doesn't look, from our vantage point, as if the sun is going to be too much of a problem in the driver's eyes here, Chris, despite the lateness of the day.
Coming off of turn 4 into the main straightaway, perhaps, later on.
Okay, well, there is the leader still cruising around. There's only 2 cars, remember, on the same lap at this point.
Speed, Jim, at halfway was 76.526 miles an hour, with Isaac leading Pearson, a Dodge over a Ford, 1 lap on the field.
There you see the crowd in the background with the young lady standing there. As we said, it's a good, big crowd here today and having a very pleasant afternoon. The amazing thing is that the practice started at 11 o'clock this morning which was 6 hours before race time, and there were a couple of thousand people here then. That's how much they like this sport down here.